listening to Inclusive AF with Jackye Clayton and Katee Van Horn.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Katee Van Horn.
And this is Jackye Clayton. I want to turn it into a theme song. I just can't say it right.
I feel like you were just leaning towards Jacqueline, though. I feel like you're trying to do what I do with your name. Feel good about that. Well, welcome to the Inclusive AF podcast. We are very excited. We have a guest today that I'm excited to talk about because there's a very relevant topic right now, folks. And Jackie's going to tell you why, and then we're going to dig in on it. But relevant as of this morning, today. So first, though, would love to introduce Michelle Ngome. And Michelle, thank you for joining us. Would love for you to share a little bit about yourself with our listeners.
Yes, thanks for having me. I always enjoy stuff like this. Michelle Ngome, I am based in Houston, Texas. I am a Black woman who happens to be queer. My parents are from Cameroon, West Africa. So we can probably dig into my upbringing a little bit later. And I work as a marketer, specifically inclusive marketing, helping organizations when it comes to all of their diversity strategies. I audit websites, social media, trainings, got other things in my back pocket that I'm working on. And in 2019, I started the African American Marketing Association. It's a nonprofit created to galvanize Black marketers in order for them to have the resources and opportunities they need to grow their career or business. So that's it in a nutshell, but we can, go through the layers and talk.
That's a big nut.
That's no small feat, and all of those things, each one individually. Awesome. So we are so excited that you're here. And Jackye, I would love for you to start us off and just share your seat at the table email.
I'm just pissed. There was a company. Listen. So every morning I get my coffee.
Michelle, as I mentioned, it's just a casual conversation here.
I'm on the LinkedIn.
Just hanging out.
Yeah, just us sitting at the table. I was like sitting at my own table and it said, get your seat at the table. DEI is important to us. I thought that's cute because, we're always looking at, marketing. And I had used You Belong Here. And I was like, no, I don't want to tell people they belong. They might not feel that way. I think I'm moving to We Do the Work because we are actually doing the work. It's a better expression of work here. But so I wanted to look at, get your chair. So I thought that was cute. So then I looked on the site for people that looked like me to figure out where my seat was going to be at where was I going to get my chair? So I start, like I do with everyone, looking at the About Us page. And I say, I don't see nobody that looks like me, but I also don't see an empty seat. So don't have a seat here. Then looked at all the other places. I was like, I wonder if they can pay me. Went to the jobs. They didn't post their salary. So I'm like, oops, there's no place for me here. Then I started looking at the pictures I said, how come in this picture there's all white people with kazoos? And this other picture, there's a Black woman like eating a piece of pizza. Like that wasn't cute. How come the white people are the only ones having fun? Where do I sit? And then I just got fired up and I just had to tell the world. Pissed.
Yeah.
I was like, they wasted money on that. That was a promoted LinkedIn post promoted to me.
So, Michelle, there you go. How do we fix it? Fix it.
Fix it right now.
Oh my God. I mean, well, one, can I have the email address so I can send the invoice to the
Absolutely.
Can we start from right? It's very disheartening, right? And I think so there's so many layers to this. So one thing I talk about, I have a framework and we can get into that later, but companies really have to think about content alignment. So one thing that's been going around lately for the past couple of years is, Black people are not a monolith, right? And that goes across every race and culture. But the thing is, you can't just insert Black person into content and be done, right? There's a disconnect. There's no content alignment. So it's going back to what Jackye said, like, I don't see me I'm probably not going to be eating pizza at work, right? Like,
And it's not just that. There's things. Tell the truth, Michelle. And I see this all the time. And I usually save this for Katie. Katie's my special friend. And you can look at it and say, there was no black people on this project. How come every time there was a picture of a black person, there was a picture of the white person? Why are you still centering whiteness at this company and saying
right.
that you're trying to include other people? No, you're not. Look at the.
So one thing I say is white people can't police white people, right? So in this case, when it comes to the marketing
I'm
campaign,
you're right though. How are you just gonna go on? Can we just talk about? Let's break that down, Michelle. You're going too fast.
well, I mean, it goes back to Katie and I kind of talked about this. The most important thing about DEI work is your experience, your perspective, right? And when it comes to obviously the historical context of America is founded on white men, and there's hierarchy and the Constitution and all of these things have been created by white men, and that's why they dominate so many of these industries that's built on this capitalistic system.
Yeah.
Right. So as simple as that LinkedIn post is, it kind of goes back to everything I said, right? It goes back to the industry, it goes back to the company history. We haven't even shared that, but I'm sure white men are the foundation of that company, right? And I'm sure white men are the foundation of the industry. So there's just certain things that are ingrained. So white people can't see that. And sometimes, and it's the same thing for every race and culture. It's even as a business owner, one thing I've had to learn is like, you're the bottleneck of your company. You can't read inside the label. You can't read the message from inside the label or something like that. And then you're just too close to the problem. So that's what I mean when I say white people can't police white people. And, I've been fortunate to work with a lot of marketing companies. I'm the subcontractor to the agency, and the creative director is like, how do you know that? And it's just my education plus experience. I mean, that's
I
all
find it funny though. I think we were at Work Human this past year, and this is what the person was what I interpreted what their meaning was to say that you don't recognize if you're not a part of a group, you don't realize how a lot of people will perceive that group in the other way. What the quote was, black people know white people better than white people know white people, didn't really come off really great. But what he was trying to say is, you don't understand that. Like, I'm studying you. I have a history of studying what you're doing. These things that you did, I see through a different way. This is what I expect. When you talk to another person, they'll say, oh, really? Like I always say, I go to networking events. I look for people first who look like me in any way. That might be a woman. That might be a parent. That might be an older person. That might be a black woman. I look for the person that's closest in proximity to me. And then I had another friend who was Hispanic. She said the same thing. And the white girl that was with us, and it's the same group with like thousands of people. She goes, you do? We were like, you don't? She was like, no. And we're like, oh. Yeah, we do that.
Yeah.
We do that.
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to assimilation, right? Because I think sometimes we have to, at least for me, sometimes I have to assimilate before I can code switch, right? So I'm going to find the person in proximity so I can warm up. And I was like, okay, I feel my groove, and now I can venture.
Now I'm ready
into talking to strangers, right? This is not even about race anymore. It's just strangers. So I think, there has to be a level of comfort in anytime you step into a new room, or a new job. And, even before I'm still young, I'm only 39, but before I got into this DEI work, I mean, I remember in my 20s going to a company's career page and wondering, will I be a culture fit, before I had the language. And I remember when I went natural and I had a fro, and my mom was like, what are you doing? And I was just, I'm doing it, right? And just, having to be very mindful and cautious about, my hair and, just really my hair, right? Because I think I'm professional, I think I look okay. But there's still those nuances. And look, we can talk about race and diversity and use those things interchangeably, but I do want to have a caveat where at the same time, especially being a woman, there's just certain things we have to grow into, right? As a person, we have to grow into our confidence. I do think that comes with age, maturity, experience. So I don't want to dismiss those things as well.
Mm-mm. I get that with you. And I feel like it's interesting in the marketing standpoint because what people do is show us how they see me, not how I see me. Like they think they're attracting me, but what I see is how you see me. That's why it was interesting. And like we have the girl with the pizza, or you have the people with the kazoos. Like why? That's like to you. That was probably when we talk about unconscious bias. Real unconscious bias is really unconscious. Somebody
Yeah.
didn't even see that at all. Didn't notice anything at all. And it's interesting, and like you said, there's lots of different things, especially when you see people with like with rainbows during June, and you see people trying to take on these things or create all of these novelty items. There's different without having a conversation or without saying, like when we saw Juneteenth ice cream, right? They didn't ask no black people from Texas how they felt about this. You know they didn't. That's a prime example of they didn't. They said, "Oh, that'd be cute. Add a little saxophone, little dashiki." The black people will love it, right? It's like you can tell, and that's what people think they're fooling people. They're not fooling people.
So we're going to talk about nuance after nuance after nuance today, okay? I actually think people know what they're doing. I think we're at a place where long as you're trending, that's
Mm,
good, right? So trending leads to social and at least to all types of digital stats, right? Well, let's just say that web traffic, whatever. So I don't think people are dumb as they, you know, think they are. We can go back to January, February with Bath and Body Works and their Black History. They released that like around January 28th, a couple of days going into February, because they were very proud of that campaign. And, obviously it missed the mark, but it seems like they did hire some Black designers, right? So it's just, I do think there's nuances in the sense that people, so this is the problem, right? So I think strategy is up top and the room is probably all white, right? And what happens is the message gets trickled down, whether it's an employee or a contractor, and they're like, hey, we want you to design this. And this Black artist has no idea, or they have very little information, and they have no idea what the end result is until they see their work, and there's a disconnect. Whereas if this is the idea you have, you need to bring this Black artist, consultant, whomever, into the strategy session from the beginning.
Yes.
And I think that's another, whatever number we are, I'm gonna start making up real numbers when it comes to the disconnect with DEI as well as inclusive marketing.
I think that is such a critical point, because I think that's one of the pieces. I think it's the translation down to whoever is actually doing the work. That's where there's a huge miss, is that, I mean, and you see this in any type of communication that comes from the top. It's how does it then get translated through 20 different people to that individual contributor that's like, oh, I'm building the widget. But without having the full picture, they're going to build this widget, and it might not in any way, shape, or form be what was intended at the end of the day. And then you have, Juneteenth ice cream come out, and everyone's like, wait, what is going on? No. The piece that I would love to talk about a little bit is also just to Jackie's story earlier. So let's say you are building a career page or starting to work on your marketing strategy, and you don't have diversity in the ranks currently, or you don't have people from underrepresented groups in the ranks currently, how do you represent that so you're not telling a lie or misrepresenting what's going on, but also being inclusive and inviting people to join the organization or join whatever the marketing campaign is, whatever that might look like? How do you do that the right way?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is the transparency, right? So do you have a DEI statement on your website? Are you communicating that on the About Us leadership career page? Are you communicating that? More importantly, are you going to communicate that in the interview? And I've consulted with a small company, and they were like, we want to build a marketing team, right? So we want to hire a marketing manager. And I'm like, okay, one thing you have to mention is, especially in the interview process, you want to build this team around them, right? You don't want this person to walk in and be surprised. And it's like, well, where's my marketing director? Where's my marketing assistant? No, tell them you're the first person. You're the first person on the team. Tell them what has been the experience, what's leading to this change, whether it's George Floyd or whatever. We've been doing the work. We've hired a consultant. We've been doing trainings. We're becoming more conscious in our hiring efforts. And this is where we are. These are the plans we have, short-term and long-term. Hopefully if they, do well in the interview, would you like to come on board, right? So, Jackye mentioned it early, you go to the About Us careers page, you're looking for these things, right? You're reading the job description. Now we're utilizing social media. Do you have employee videos on the YouTube page? It's like I have to get a sense of the company culture, even beyond the lack of diversity.
Hey there, I'm Tim Boris, host of the Working Well podcast, where business strategy meets human sustainability. If you're an executive, a leader, or change maker ready to ditch burnout, build thriving teams, and drive real results, this is your next must listen. Tune in on the Work Defined Network or at timboris.com/podcast.
Right. And I think, look, I've been in a lot of rooms where I've been the only Black person. So I feel like I know how to navigate that really well, but I still want to have that level of transparency, which will allow me to make an honest decision with the information I have.
I think that's important too. And I think we need to get better at telling the story and not just about not just the founder's story. A lot of organizations, I look at a lot of career pages and company pages because of the work that I do, and you'll see the founder's story, and then it's like, and then here we are today. And so it's hard to see, to your point earlier about that company, you see these two white guys arm in arm, and it's like the founders of the company, and then, and I can't see the rest of the journey, and we just have to share part of the journey, because I will be more understanding of your brand and understanding it, and I need to be able to get all the facts, to your point with the marketing person, to determine if this is going to be a safe place. I need to feel like you're being genuine and true, and you're not using me to roll up the flagpole.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I do think Gen Z is doing a good job of that. So if you're having the millennials or Gen Z that are creating, or especially these tech companies, I think they're doing a good job on their founder story, documenting the journey, providing timeline, all kinds of diversity statements. I will say one company I'm very impressed with is REI, right? I'm a city girl, just now getting into the nature stuff, right? Like, I've never stepped foot in this building, whatever. But let me tell you something. This company has made some great improvements in the past 2.5 years. Okay.
Yes.
And I will give credit where credit is due. They've made the changes, and they've been very transparent with the changes. A lot of these companies have made diversity statements in May or June 2020. But this company, if you go to their communications page or whatever, updates, quarterly updates on their progress when it comes to diversity, and people are not trained to do that. They're not trained to look for that. But if you have a bad experience at a company, you're going to have better questions the next time you go into a job interview, right? So I just think people have to be mindful of those things. And, there's companies that are making great progress. Try to, what are your competitors doing? It doesn't have to be a bad thing. Hire a consultant, interview the consultants to figure out who will be a good fit for, what you're trying to do. But at the end of the day, it goes back to transparency. So how transparent do you want to be during this journey?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think
he just gave us more work.
Right.
We gotta write it. We've been doing lots of stuff. We haven't been writing that stuff down, Katie. We're not telling all the people.
You don't even know. Yes. But it's so true, because I think, so this is something that, we're actually working on a revamp of our website. And one of the things we talked about is like, I don't need to see the advisors' pictures, but I would love to see the team members. Like, I would love to have the team members on there to talk about who they are, what they're doing, or what's going on. Because I think that's also much more impactful. And we know folks are going out on Glassdoor or wherever, and they are sharing how they feel about companies. So the more you can get those real authentic stories, but it's also, it's that piece, but it's also treat people well, and they will talk in the right way, or the way that you would hope that they would talk about your company. Because I think that's the piece also, that it cannot be a fake storyline. Because I've seen that as well, where you have, Joe is in our, manufacturing team, and he loves it here because he likes to play with kazoos and eat pizza or whatever.
That's right.
Yeah. What does that have to do with anything? Yeah.
But I think companies are so concerned about controlling the narrative, whereas they underestimate the value of curated social media. And what do I mean by that? I actually have a presentation tomorrow, so all of this is really, really fresh. So for example, one of the examples I'm going to share is a Twitter employee. She tweets, so glad to come back to work after my 20 weeks of maternity leave, right? If I'm a woman that wants 20 weeks maternity leave, like,
sign me up. Yeah.
Now I'm going to look into Twitter, right? And that's a promotion that a company can't put a price on, right? Because don't get me wrong, you have to create content and control some kind of narrative. But what this lady tweeted is priceless in itself. And she tweeted that because she's a happy employee.
Yes.
And she's, whatever her followers are. Once again, if I'm a woman that's considering having a child, and my current company is only giving me 6 weeks, I'm looking for companies, the different perks, right? So what was good for me at the age of 25 may not be good for me at the age of 32 now that I'm married with kids. Like, I want different benefits. And if you're telling me you're getting 20 weeks maternity leave, how can I start working at Twitter within a year?
Right. You are so right. I have a program manager. This was interesting to me today. So I was talking to my program manager. He's a diversity program manager at the company. And he asked me, do you know when Textio got Bravely? And I said, no. And it was after the underrepresented people started complaining because they didn't feel like they were getting enough leadership coaching. And we didn't have enough in-house, and so they just gave everyone free Bravely. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah. I was like, oh, I just thought we got free Bravely. Like, I never even thought about it, right? And people don't, the stories are there to share. It's weird. I say weird is not the word. It's interesting being at a company that does want to share those things, and there's so many things to share, and not recognizing you take things for granted. Somebody said, oh, if I want to work at a company where a VP dances at their seat, I was like, you should raise the bar and do a little bit more. do a little bit more research than that, because not everybody's dancing. That is not every department, to be clear.
That's true too.
I mean, I think you like to dance in your seat, Jackye. So I don't know if that's like for you, if that would be a qualifier that you need that on the checkbox of how will I be attracted? But for other
But I
folks,
mean,
yeah,
some
generally,
people, but you're right,
yeah,
of putting those things out there,
yeah.
of being transparent.
Well, and I also think it's the meaningful pieces too, because, like to your point on the Twitter example, 20 weeks of maternity leave, that's impactful. Like that's
Yes.
not a, oh, hey, we have a diversity statement, or hey, we have ERGs. Like that's something that impacts your life outside of work. So that is huge. And I think that's the piece too, is to your point on the benefits and like looking at who is your population, but also who are you trying to attract? Do you have the benefits to attract? Do you have the stories to attract who you're trying to attract? Because I think that's one of the pieces too, is if, those YouTube videos of employees, if it's all white males, that's telling people a lot of things about your company.
It is.
So it is, what are the rest of the stories? What are the stories that you're not hearing or that you're missing out on? And I think that's the piece too, because everyone wants to have, okay, we need to have this, or we need to have that, or, oh, hey, Michelle said do this, but then it's like, okay, go a little bit deeper. What else does that mean? Or what else could be impactful to folks? And not just to one group, but to different groups as well. So,
right.
So right.
And maintaining that integrity throughout the year, right? Not just in February, Black History Month, or July Disability Month, and September Hispanic Heritage Month, but highlighting these employees, so I like to say customer centric and employee centric stories.
Yes.
So obviously right now we're talking about employees, but carrying that throughout the year, and maybe you'll amplify it more on a specific week, Pride or whatever, Pride Month or whatever, but let's maintain some integrity and not just like, oh, check the box for June, July, September. I
interviewed a woman last week, and what was interesting was, I was part of the interview process, but as we got to the end, she loved everything that she saw, but what was interesting is that it is building that culture within where everyone was sharing those personal stories, that by the time we got to the end and I was telling her I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I don't know what's happening. I don't know where my executive producer is. I don't know.
Happy that Penny is under the bed right now, asleep and not joining in.
My executive producer is opening the door. He's going to be so mad. There's no one there. I sit by the front door. So anyway, as we were talking, she said to me, "So what did y'all do for Pride?" And I was like, "Oh, we watched Stonewall. We watched a movie about trans athletes. We bought cases. We got candles. We did this. We did this. We did this. We did this." And she said, "Nobody told me anything about that." I was like, "Oh, they did it?" And she goes, "No. What y'all do for, the month before?" I said, "Oh, it was Asian American. Let me tell you, we did this, we did this." And she was like, and I was the last interview. These are the last 5 minutes. And I was like, well, dang, we should have started with that. Nobody started with that. Nobody did it. But it was like we were telling the true stories of what was going on and letting people know what's actually happening. And it takes growth of these little things. And it's really impactful. It was impactful for me. We're about to do the racial equity handbook. Katie's going to lead the course at my company. And I was excited when my boss said yes. I was excited when we sent it out and we had it on the calendar. But what made me cry was when an executive told me that their kid was reading it. And you realize that it's one thing to do this work. We understand what we're doing, but you realize you're changing the world. We're building that opportunity. And, representation matters. But then if you do it bad, it has that exact opposite effect if you're not getting this marketing together.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Is it okay if I share my framework real quick?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So
you have to charge listeners that you're sharing this framework. Is that listeners?
Do we have put this behind a sign in? Do we need
please directly to Michelle at, no, I'm just kidding.
I give generously and freely.
Awesome.
So I call it the 5-point framework to inclusive marketing. And because we're touching on so much of this. So one is content and communications. So your content, in this case, your content is specifically to your consumers. So it's about thought leadership, informing, educating people about your product and services. Your communication is really internal communications, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the diversity statements, it's the announcements, it's allowing employees to understand the company culture, understand where does the company stand when it's Roe versus Wade? You know, are you like Dick's Sporting Good and you're going to give away $4,000 or $5,000 for medical expenses? So that's what communications is about. Second, we have candidates. How are you marketing the candidates? How are you recruiting talent? Where are you finding talent? Third, we have company culture, right? Let's pull our employees to recruit talent. Create the content for, marketing campaigns that are more HR centric versus consumer sales centric. And it's also employee engagement, right? Company culture, employee engagement. I feel like companies, I know we're in a crazy time right now because of the pandemic, but companies that have high employee engagement have lower turnover rates, right? And then 4, we have the consumers, B2B, B2C, once again, going back to content, marketing, all that type of stuff. And then 5 is community awareness. And a lot of small businesses, they struggle when it comes to diversity work because they feel like they're too small. They can't do a photo shoot. They're using stock photos, which is fine. But I'm like, okay, but how can you get involved with your community? Are you volunteering? Can you do a $500 scholarship? Like what are these certain elements that you can still engage in your company can represent the community and still be diverse and inclusive with the work?
Awesome. I mean, those are all, we talk about changing process and policy and like the actual structures that we know have been built from a very Eurocentric, white male dominated world. And this is how we start to change those things, is by changing the narrative, by changing how we approach this work, how we think about this work. And so, I mean, I love the framework. I especially love that community awareness because I'm in that. I live in that world right now where we are a small business, and I am trying to think about like, how do I promote volunteerism and some of these other things within my organization and help folks understand that this is important to us. And, we are a climate tech company. And so it is, okay, do we plant trees? Do we go, what are the things that we can do that would be helpful? And those are also the stories that will engage people that are feeling that same way, because we have a huge group of individuals that like, they want to work at a company that cares about the environment, that cares about sustainability. And that's huge to be able to tell those stories. So I love that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's so much look, sometimes I hate being a marketer. And even today, I was like, I just need to log off of Twitter. It's just too many changes at one time. Right. And I still might, I don't know. But
talk about it, Michelle. Tell them.
I mean, we still say everything is content, right?
Yes.
And technically it is. But if your company decides to volunteer, 4 hours on a Saturday or whatever, or they make a donation to a nonprofit that fits your company's mission and values, that's photos, that's a press release, there's still content there, which kind of goes into the inclusive marketing piece. And, I really just try to share this stuff so people can expand their horizons on how to, navigate. Like, everyone can't be a Chase or a Nike, right? and they're doing these huge multi-million-dollar campaigns for 1 week or 2 days to trend, but we can still do our part in a small way.
You
Absolutely.
are right. I laughed. Last week someone said, you know who's bad at picking weeds? Me. You know how I know? Because it was volunteer day and half the volunteers went to go pick weeds. And I said, actually, it's me because I'm not going out there. I am not.
Not even
It
going.
is
Yeah.
I'm not going. I am the worst. But I love that people don't recognize it because it's not, it's marketing, like you said at the very beginning, your transparency. It's marketing what we're doing and allow that, and not having the staged person, like go put on some headphones and let me take a picture. Um, and that's what I thought was so funny. The example that we started with this morning, I said, how do you have 1,400 people? That's the picture you chose, was the woman with
Yeah.
the pizza. What?
Yeah.
That's what you like. You didn't have any of. You couldn't say pull out your iPhone, take a picture at your nothing.
Now,
And,
You
people,
and as a white person, I'm offended by the kazoos. Let me be clear. That like
Oh,
what?
that's y'all.
That's the
Listen,
whitest of the white thing
I'm
ever,
sorry.
right? Like
I
what is that?
listen, I'll tell you this. I'm gonna let you on a little
He's
secret.
embarrassed by the kazoos.
Companies pay me to go through stock photos. And
Mm-hmm.
all I do is go through stock photos. And I'm like, this photo belongs on this page.
Yep.
And depending on the industry, I may or may not evaluate the actual content, the words.
Yeah.
But yeah, I go
How
through
many
stock-
kazoos, Michelle? How many kazoos you see this
Yeah.
week? How many kazoos?
Yeah.
Not one. Not
We
one
need to
kazoo.
We need to know
I
immediately.
love like companies like that. Oh, look, we're fun, kazoo. Like what? We got to do work too, and
But
you have to show.
I also think there's such a miss on this where what's fun for me is to do really impactful work
That's right.
and to actually make a difference in the world and to work with people that feel the same way. Like that's fun. That's I find really, really fun. And to work with smart people that are like coming up with new ideas. That's fun. I don't know. Anyhow.
I think a lot of people are going in that direction though now, where it's like you found out because after we figured out what was changing internally at organizations that were holding us hostage, right? Free breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Oh, we have a movie room. We have a masseuse that comes in. We have a gym. You can have showers. Oh, you're too tired. Like there's a so that they provided all your needs, right? And then people are like, I get it what they're doing to me. People do want to see. They're like, you can keep your lunch, so I can spend time with the people who really care about me.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're seeing that where it's like, no, we shouldn't go to happy hour. Let's do something. Let's do something.
Right.
So that you can sit up proud of the place where you work as well.
Well, I think we all either read The Circle or watched the movie The Circle, where like the whole concept of, and we won't name names, but a certain company that we use as a search tool daily, GTS baby, that is something that it was like, I'm going to provide every single thing. So you never have to leave this campus ever. And it wasn't a made up story. Like that's really what it is like in some of these campuses. And it is just bananas because you're like, no, I would like to go home now, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
I work for 75 hours today. Can I go take a nap at my home?
Oh,
Thank
you don't want a Prosecco? We got a charcuterie.
Yeah, we're ready for happy hour.
No thanks.
Anyways, all right, we are way off topic, but okay. So Michelle, would love to hear from you. What is one thing that you want to make sure that, and I'm going to give you a couple different audiences because it might be the same message, but I want you to share. If you are an HR professional, whether that's recruiter, business partner, generalist, whatever role you're in HR, what is one thing that they should know from you today to go start implementing tomorrow? Same question for business leader. And same question for marketing professional. Please.
Okay. Yes. Thank you for this question. So I think the reason why I started talking about inclusive marketing, because I think it's time for marketing and HR to talk, right? And I'm only giving more work to marketers, but we'll get to that later, right? Okay. So it's time for HR and marketing to talk.
Pace of change in the world of business is fast, and that drives incredible complexity for the world of human resources.
Welcome to the HR Data Lab's Brown Bag Lunch, a series of conversations with experts inside and outside the world of human resources on how to innovate, measure, and evolve our practices.
Our goal is to help provide you with practical examples of how HR has to change and to meet in this complex business environment.
Every week, we'll talk to new and different voices on all aspects of human resources.
And guess what? You get to chat with us live.
Live?
Live.
So they can answer questions or they can ask us questions.
They can ask, they can answer, whatever they want. They get to talk with us live.
That's awesome.
Sometimes we geek out on the data and technology that underlie the processes that drive the world of HR.
But the conversations are always insightful and fun. So please enjoy the HR Data Lab's Brown Bag Lunch.
The HR department also needs to think like marketers.
Okay.
The way the company is positioned is going to attract talent. The way the leaders in the company are positioned, thought leadership, personal brand, is going to attract talent. So I strongly encourage HR professionals to think about creating a marketing campaign to attract talent. What does that look like? What are the stories? Who are the people that can give us these best stories? And race, culture, sexuality, mid-level career coming into this company. Maybe you had someone that did an internship and you hired them full-time as a new grad. Like, all of these stories are so important because in life, all we do is transition, right? So I want HR leaders to think about, man, I need a marketing campaign. The HR department needs a marketing campaign. Right? And then, create the budget, go bother marketing.
We do know how to do that.
Yeah, it's really important, right? Because the career page is not enough. Indeed, and LinkedIn and, some of these organizations is great, but there's job listings every day. But now that I get to your website, now what? Or, what's going to come through my LinkedIn feed? What ad is going to come through my LinkedIn feed?
Yeah, Jackie's watching, people. Jackie is watching.
I'm gonna call you out.
So any questions on the HR part?
Nope, this is perfect.
All right. So business leaders get involved with the community, right? Especially now. I can't even say post-COVID. I don't know what we're in, but get involved in the community, do community calls. This can be industry-wide. This can be quote unquote community service, going out to networking events, speak on panels, because some of the best or high-paying jobs are not on Indeed, right? It's some company that you come across randomly because you met someone or you got a card and you're like, oh, let me see what they have. And it's like, oh, they're paying just as much as XYZ. I'm going to go work there because it's smaller, right? But this business leader has to be visible and make connections to people. Also with the business leader, and this is kind of steep into the marketing. Yes, we all need money, we all need revenue, but let's take it a step further, right? So your personality, you as a person, you're attracting more than just new clients, right? You're attracting talent, you're keeping employees engaged. I had worked at Chase for 3 years while I was in college, and I just, not so naive, just thought I was gonna become some wealthy investment banker and eventually I was going to meet Jamie Dimon, right? But I didn't like none of my managers. There was no way I
Not one.
That road to Jamie Dimon was woo.
Long.
Plus, I'm in Houston and I'm not in New York or Ohio. But I mean, that's the power of the business leader, right? In management and above, right? Do people like you? How are you keeping them engaged? How are they learning from you? They're probably learning more by watching you versus you thinking you have to have that one-on-one, you know? And let's get back to the town hall meetings via Zoom or whatever, but let's really enhance employee engagement and just overall company morale. And then for marketing, okay. Okay. Marketing is tough. Marketing is going in a lot of directions. And I realized about 10 years ago that the role of sales and marketing was getting very blurred, but I couldn't have predicted where it's at now, right? It's just ridiculous. But, and I guess this kind of goes back to the business leaders. Find the money to grow your marketing team, right? And have dedicated, and I don't know what that looks like, but I kind of mentioned how HR needs their own marketing campaign, right? So what does that HR marketing team, recruitment marketing team look like, right? What does the product marketing team look like? What does the digital marketing team look like? Because this team of 3 to 5 marketers can't do everything, right? And everything's not about the website. It's just not. And everything's not about social media, right? So really find.
So don't bring it up when I have the conversation. Tell them when I have that HR marketing conversation, telling them to work harder. Hold on, let me scratch it off my list. Okay.
But marketing is bananas
So
right
hard.
now. And the thing is, because you have to promote to so many people, so many channels. So find a way to grow the marketing department and, you know, create mini teams that can focus on one area, you know, for the entire organization.
I like that. I wish I could have met intern Michelle. That
I know.
intern Michelle.
We're gonna have to talk about that after I get offline, after we end this.
Yes.
Myself. So we'll discuss that after we stop recording. But okay. So Jackye, I'm not gonna make you go through all 3, but what's one thing? So we don't have to go through all 3 groups. So what's one thing that you want people who are listening to know or to remember from this episode?
Well, it goes back. I think Michelle just like solidified what we were saying. Like diversity itself is not a marketing campaign. Like tell the stories, find the stories, because there's lots of stories. And if HR and marketing aren't talking to the rest of the whole organization, they'll never get told. And there are lots of stories. And unfortunately, too often you find out about the story when people are leaving, and they'll tell us that they tried to meet Mr. Diamond. That's when you find out, oh, we didn't know you had that goal. We would have helped you on it, right?
Yeah.
Don't wait.
Jamie's right next door. We can go pop by and meet him.
Let's go. We'll just go pop in.
Yeah.
Just pop in. Yep. But I think that's what I would say. After you become best friends with marketing, make sure that you're talking to the people about what you're looking to do and share real stories. You know, that's what I'd say.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to go with your number 1 tool, or your number 1 on your list.
PVH steals. No. Okay.
No, not you. I'm Michelle's number 1. I want folks to remember this one. The content and communications. So listen, you settle down over there. So I think this is something that people forget is, you're talking about marketing, not have enough people in marketing. And I think there is a miss between the communication. And I swear to you by all that I know, almost every single organization that I've worked with and supported or partnered with as a consultant and as an HR person in-house, on their engagement survey, communication pops without fail every single time. And so remembering the fact that, yes, you can build a beautiful marketing campaign externally, but if you don't tell people internally what's going on, the strategy, where we're going, what we're doing, how we're getting there, that communication piece is so critical. And that ties into what Jackye just mentioned on the storytelling, that if I don't even know what my widget does that and how that ties to the strategy of the organization, how am I going to go tell a story about how great it is to work here? And so I think people just, there is a disconnect there and a miss that, oh, well, we posted it on our website, so the team knows, or, hey, we talked about it in our earnings call, so everybody just knows. And you're like, my friend's sitting on the phone, answering calls about what's going on at this site doesn't know what's going on an earnings call or
right.
Be worried about or anything like that. And so that communication, like, it has to be constant. It has to be through all different channels. It has to be just continuous stream of here's what we're doing, here's what's going on. And I think that's also how people feel included. You're talking about inclusive marketing. That's a ton of it right there. It's just, are you including people in what's going on? So
Yeah.
All right, Michelle, last word from you. Anything else we should be taken away on this one? You just gave us like tons of nuggets. I have notes from this episode.
Yes.
Well, everyone's in a different place when it comes to their DEI journey. And I know the phrase inclusive marketing, diversity marketing, it's new, it's making some traction. And what I say is I look at D&I from a marketing perspective, so especially if you're a marketer, if you're in HR, let's just kind of expand, what diversity looks like and how you can grow your team, grow your organization. And the last thing is, and I think, Katee, you were leaning towards it, but I want to get it in here. Lots of times we think about innovation as technology, when innovation is really about newness, right? And newness, new people, new ideas, new experiences, but you have to attract and engage your employees. So that's what I want to leave this episode with.
Awesome. Thank you. Truly for taking the time. I think this will be super beneficial for anyone that is listening. I
enjoyed it. That's all I care about today.
Yeah, I love y'all. Y'all bring me back anytime. Y'all want to
I'm like, I don't even care that I recorded it or not, because I just like the conversation.
At the end of the day, good. It started a little rough.
Yeah.
Now I'm feeling good. Feeling good.
So thank you all for listening. This is Katee Van Horn.
And this is Jackye Clayton. Bye.
Bye.